most Sundays. Join our Discord to be part of the action. See you in game, Commanders. Beyond All Reason fans, welcome to King of the Hill by AllReasonNoLogic. Experience 2 or more teams facing off in epic scale warfare, where the Horde gang up on the Kings of the Hill. Kings start off with an economic bonus. They do their best to defend an onslaught after a no-rush timer expires. Test out your micro and defend against multiple players in variations of this game mode. We'll be part of the masses. Team up with your allies to topple the throne in a glorious victory. AllReasonNoLogic, hosting King of the Hill lobbies, most Sundays. Join our Discord to be part of the action. See you in game, Commanders. Beyond All Reason fans, welcome to King of the Hill by AllReasonNoLogic. Experience 2 or more teams facing off in epic scale warfare, where the Horde gang up on the Kings of the Hill. Kings start off with an economic bonus. They do their best to defend an onslaught after a no-rush timer expires. Test out your micro and defend against multiple players in variations of this game mode. We'll be part of the masses. Team up with your allies to topple the throne in a glorious victory. AllReasonNoLogic, hosting King of the Hill lobbies, most Sundays. Join our Discord to be part of the action. See you in game, Commanders. Beyond All Reason fans, welcome to King of the Hill by AllReasonNoLogic. Experience 2 or more teams facing off in epic scale warfare, where the Horde gang up on the Kings of the Hill. Kings start off with an economic bonus. They do their best to defend an onslaught after a no-rush timer expires. Test out your micro and defend against multiple players in variations of this game mode. We'll be part of the masses. Team up with your allies to topple the throne in a glorious victory. AllReasonNoLogic, hosting King of the Hill lobbies, most Sundays. Join our Discord to be part of the action. See you in game, Commanders. Beyond All Reason fans, welcome to King of the Hill by AllReasonNoLogic. Experience 2 or more teams facing off in epic scale warfare, where the Horde gang up on the Kings of the Hill. Kings start off with an economic bonus. They do their best to defend an onslaught after a no-rush timer expires. Test out your...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to King of the Hill. We're about to start up a Claymore. So we'll see how that one goes. Hopefully we'll get the updated code and go live on the official soon. I've let Flo know, so hopefully that will be incoming.
I suppose the big difference for tonight is we've got no twig.
I didn't even notice.
Welcome, Commander.
That's right, we get the pretty lines, don't we? Nice. Cool. Seeing some of that planning already coming together.
Yep.
Looks like we've got pretty much everyone ready to go, doesn't it?
It does. So we can probably look at kicking this one off.
Let's get underway, I guess. With a false start now.
Battle started.
Good evening and welcome everyone to King of the Hill on Claymore, where you're joining our 5 intrepid kings with plus 45% bonus against 11 peasants. Nice mix of new and old faces in the mix today. Joining me in the casting booth is Tank Tom and no Twiggles McGee. He's gone for a runner this time round. Hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. So for those of you not familiar with the format, on Claymore, this map is divided into 5 quadrants. I can only draw so much of that quadrant because the sea covers it up, but essentially each of these triangles is 1 quadrant. You have the players around the outside. All of them except for one will be 2 peasants on the outside. This one is 3 because it is an 11 versus 5 format. These players have 10 minutes before they can attack, and then it is their job to try and destroy the king. The king, similar story, 10 minutes before they can attack, and they have to try and destroy the peasants. If you win your triangles, you may leave your triangles. However, until you win your triangle, you may not. One exception to that rule, if you get attacked by an adjacent triangle, you are allowed to leave your triangle, because sometimes defending requires getting offensive. No air currently on the map, and hopefully we will see some good plays around here. One other thing to note, we do not allow structures to be used offensively, and because there is only the 2 of us, we will be reasonably strict with those rules tonight. Tank Tom, have I missed anything?
I don't think so. I was about to add that once the you start getting attacked, you can then move out to defend yourself. But you covered that one, so I think you got pretty much everything.
Fair enough. So, big thing that is quite important on this map is using what you have Can we get a pause?
Battle paused.
Ah, yep.
Looks like I can't destroy units.
Let me see if I can. It's gonna be in here, isn't it? Looks like
Battle
they've got a
resumed.
countdown on them.
There we go. Alright. Looks like that is taken care of. Still glad that we do have open communication and everyone trying their best to keep that up and running. No damage done, so no harm, no foul. Doesn't look like commands are working. Now, this is one of what we were saying. The important thing is to use what you have. So, looking at a two-person lane, you want to get T2. The thing is, you only want one of you to get T2. Tap all 4 of your mexes, move along, tap all the mexes as you go, and leave the T2 for the other person. If you do that, you're going to have a lot of metal to work with. You're also going to have one T2 factory to produce some big heavy-hitting units. Anything long range is pretty good, sometimes something a little tanky. And then a lot of T1 units from the other player. The other thing you can do is go back down to the T1 units using the T2 T2 economy, which will allow you to get a lot of T1 units to try and overwhelm the kings. In the middle, what you want to try and do is have at least enough defenses that you don't die at 10 minutes. That's always pretty important. And other than that, you want to just try and make sure you're getting to at least one fusion.
Yeah, you need one fusion, some defenses, ideally a lot of
Commander
units, and a
self-destructed.
way to deal with a whole lot of spam
Commander
at that 10-minute
self-destructed.
mark, because it's not uncommon that you get absolutely swamped both sides at once if the peasants are doing well.
And what we're seeing right here on the right-hand side is that T2 conversion that's necessary for the middle of the map. Nice and early with a probably 4-minute 10 T2 because of the reclaim of that com. The com is a very important unit in this. It can be make or break, but getting that early T2 sometimes can be more worth
Commander
it than not,
self-destructed.
because it does allow you to get more and more economy rolling early. I know that I don't like to get rid of mine, but that's because I've had mine be the last com too many times, just because of everyone self-D'ing theirs.
And comms are fantastic for stopping a push in its tracks. Yes, your com will probably blow up in the process of it. If they take out the entire army that was about to roll through your base, generally it's more worth it than not. And I would
That's one
happily
of the
sacrifice...
nice balancing acts. Any successful defense does give a boost of metal to the other team, provided there's enough left to deal with it. So just like the com being used to provide that metal early on, you can facilitate your late game transition just through fighting.
And with some of these games, whilst winning is the main idea, not dying long enough for your teammates to come and save you is also perfectly viable.
Correct.
Because it's not uncommon that some of these triangles will basically end up gridlocked where the king is hanging on by a thread, but they're managing to keep their triangle busy, and if the king next to them wins, then they can start rolling around. Or, as what kind of often happens is, if the peasants win next to you, suddenly you go from a 2v1 to a 4v1, and it gets real difficult when they start shooting up the backside of your cliff.
Yeah, I particularly have been enjoying missile units from the
Commander
backside of the cliff
self-destructed.
recently.
Mhm.
It does not take that much metal investment to instantly pop a fusion. So as long as any scouting information is being gained through the earlier parts of the games, it is usually enough to run with some rocket troops.
We're seeing a bunch of defenses coming out from some of these peasants.
Which is interesting, because defensive play as the peasants is not the go, to be honest.
By all means,
Kings...
having a couple of LLTs to stop the tick run bys or something to that effect, by all means. However, when a king rolls out with their T2 army, your defenses generally don't mean too much other than a minor delay.
One of the things to bear in mind is that there's quite a few of inexperienced players. One of the things they probably don't know is that the lava will recede. So building defenses up in that choke point, it's not a choke point.
Yep, I see that. That's just
So one of the things we're seeing around the map, and this is one of the things that can make balancing a little difficult. Without a certain level of experience, you're not sure what is going to happen in the game. And so, for example, Pyro has put a lot of money into units with seven aggravators, 7 thugs, and 2 pawns. That's not a lot of army, and it's not going to get that much bigger between now and the 10-minute mark, because his income is restricted to +6, hasn't grabbed the mechs around the outside, and someone has taken his mechs around the inside. That's going to heavily restrict how far he's going to be able to push out, especially against a player like Duffy, who's already on to 3rd fusion. 3rd fusion, 8 minutes. We're going to have to look at giving Duffy a bit less of a bonus.
Yeah, that's
a build and a half right there. Looking around the rest of the map, we have one fusion for everyone else except for Dominus. Dominus has 2, and it does look like Tom Ruler is getting his 2nd one right now.
And that's basically the standard that we're looking for out of the Kings, is to have at least a fusion up with enough time left to be able to get an army or some defenses up and running so that you can hold off that initial push and then basically make your way out from that point. And all of the Kings are in a good position at this stage with their fusions completed and still that minute and a half to go for building up those armies.
Yeah. 8 minutes onwards is a perfectly good time to start building that army, because you need to have a decent amount to try and fight, whether you're defending or getting on the offensive. It does take a village to defend. It does take a village to offend. And there's a few different strats for defense, which I quite like we're seeing a few of. Tom the Ruler is going with the Ollie strat, which is pull the defenses right back, have some walls. In this case, instead of beamers, we're seeing some lightning turrets. We'll see whether that works out. Nice spread of construction turrets. The stuff's coming down nice quickly. Should be mostly complete. Problem is no defensive units, so that could turn into a big problem. But there's not too much that is going to be... Oh, there is a decent amount he'll be contending with. On the flip side, we see Oodles going with a very light defense strategy, a couple of twin guards on the front, but hopefully T2 to defend it. All unit strat out of Mazza, and then normal-ish front line from Dominus. So should be a good varied start, and quite a lot of units across the map. If we take a moment to zoom out and just select all those offensive units, 400 for Claymore is a pretty good time.
I reckon we're going to see some good pushes come out. Top and bottom is my guess. And we can see all these units on this bottom side moving as one.
I think that Oodles is going to have a bit of trouble holding this, provided that everything just goes in.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of mace.
Yes.
That's a lot of mace. Jake's going in a little early, but that's okay. It is pulling those shoulders back.
They do provide vision, though. And I don't think there's enough to necessarily hold both sides of this at once.
There is definitely not enough to hold both sides. Yes, these Sheldons in theory could kill everything, but they won't.
If they kill everything on that side, their base is still dead behind them is the problem. I love seeing those ticks go deep and get to that conversion in the background there.
Destroyed.
And with that base effectively destroyed, let's move over to Duffy's lane. Immediate push out with Stouts already wrecking through Mind Ultra's base. Very, very strong push out of Mind Ultra's out of Duffy, destroying Mind Ultra. Top side of the map does look like
those
Tom Ruler's base has
done a
defended
lot
quite
of
nicely.
work.
The interesting thing is that the defenses are not doing a good job of killing the units. They're Those pawns are just blocking off. If there'd been anything else here, let's say some sort of long range, it would have been a different story.
I do like having that little gap at the front to funnel everything through that one position where they basically get wiped one after the other with those dragon's claws.
I am surprised the dragon claw in the middle didn't die.
So am I.
That just didn't look like it took damage.
It probably helps that only a few units at a time could ever attack it.
Commander destroyed.
Yeah. But still, I am surprised at how well this defense is doing. And one of the things that is strong about it is the unit composition it is up against. That was particularly strong against pawns. It would be particularly weak against tanks. Looks like we got on the left side, big push out from Dominus. Doesn't look like Dominus was overly attacked at the start. Not much damage, if any, on those LLTs. This is one of the most important things for any player. You absolutely have to put pressure on the kings. I'm not saying you need to break into the base, but if you contain the kings here and here, they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have anything to do. If they eco, then you'll build up enough units to push in. If they don't eco, then you're holding them in place for someone and forcing them to spend on units and defenses.
And by
bottom side of the
pressure
map, all those pounders out of Mazza that were being used for defense are now being used for offense, as well as the brutes in the back line. So this is looking like it's going to be a little bit on the king's favor. But
you can see here, this is the sort of thing where when we say putting pressure on the kings, you don't need to necessarily wipe them completely. Just doing something like sending 20 units at them and focusing a whole bunch right on that outer edge where there probably isn't as much defense means that you'll probably get in and be able to do some damage, or if nothing else, you'll force the kings to respond so that they don't lose all of their conversion and build power.
These 20 maces are going to wipe Mazza.
Yes.
All that build power in one spot, little to no defenses. There's now no more units coming out, and they're just cleaning up those fusions. There isn't a unfortunate positioning meant that the fusions took out a lot of the maces, so one left. That's very unfortunate for the team. But that definitely slows the roll down. It's going to leave Psycho alive, and it's going to allow these two different sets of peasants to attack in. Thankfully, though, for our Mazza King, is going to have a little bit of help from the lane above, because it does look like that has been cleared now. So I'm still going to put this in King's favor at the moment, but when there are experienced kings and a lot of inexperienced peasants, we do tend to see that happen. And we do know that Claymore can swing pretty hard one way or the other. It's why it's a warm-up game.
It's nice to see some different strategies come out this evening. I don't mind seeing things like the walls defense for a king's base, because I don't remember the last time we've seen something like that.
Walls are cheap.
Oh yeah. T1 walls to funnel that first push is a fantastic idea.
Question is, because of what they were facing, wouldn't really have mattered whether there was the gap or not, but the question is that for some other formations, would the gap have made a difference or not? Something like Blitzers might have actually been able to punch that gap, so it could have been detrimental. Oof. It does look like Psycho is not going to be having a good time defending over here. Does have those fat boys and the snipers, which are doing a nice job, but the pressure is just going to keep mounting over on this end, so it doesn't look like any particular ability to expand the eco, so it is going to be quite limited funding from here, and we are getting some units coming in at a different angle as well. Because of all of the energy generation being wind, this is going to be quite a...
That is going to be rather devastating once that starts to fall. And
pounders do a lot to wind.
Yeah, those fat boys
wind is basically a swarm unit.
Yes.
Commander destroyed.
So it doesn't look like they're microed to go too deep, So there could be a little bit of leeway here.
Those
Units being
advanced
pulled to deal with
solars
this.
saving those converters.
Commander destroyed.
It still costs 2 advanced solars, which is not cheap at all. Still 4 kings left, and only about 5 peasants, with a few of them under massive siege. So it is most certainly not a good position for the peasants.
Yeah,
The
this is
most even
essentially-
games usually see one or 2 kings going down and 2 to 4 peasants going down at that 10-minute mark.
I'm just seeing there's a couple of people mentioning that they can't see the lobby to spectate, and I believe that we had the lobby crash not long into this game, so we're going to be setting up a new one for the next round.
Yep. Do you want to quickly do that so that people can start to populate it and hopefully a mod can expand it out?
That is a good idea. I'll just double check to see if there's already something going. Not that I can see, so I will spin us up a new one.
Very good, very good. Does look like a very rough fight here for Daoshi, as having to deal with snipers that have a front line of welders, but plenty of T2 to fight the T2. However, Duffy's economy is expanding nicely, grabbing all the territory that has been missed, and isn't under threat from above because he hasn't attacked out above, so above just has to deal with Tom the Ruler, and Tom the Ruler is doing a good job of cleaning a lot of this up. Does look like the tanks are starting to penetrate into Psycho's base. The Fat Boys are a good choice for defending against this, but now that the tanks have gotten in close, they're doing a fair amount of splash damage to their own units as well. They're also not quick enough to get around the map and stop the units that have already got in the base. They also will do splash damage, as you just saw there, to anything close to the enemy unit. So this is just a matter of time at this point in this one. Question is there anything the peasants can do to win this one? And the reality is I'm going to go with not so much. Unfortunately for the peasants, when there is only 3 left, the kings do have a 45% bonus, and there are 4 kings, which means that their ability to out micro and out eco you is rather large. What did I botch, Flo? What did I botch? Let's see. Let's find something that is not going to be particularly... Okay. That's no worries. Tonight's a bit messy anyway because we're without Twig, so it's not a problem.
What did I miss?
Not much. Psycho's base finally has been overrun, which this was a matter of just throwing money at the problem. Does look like the last vestiges of Oratab are being taken out. He's doing a really good job to get the metal, doing things like reclaiming, so the kings can't get it. And then we're going to be down to what is essentially a final bastion. Really, really good hold out of Daoshi, out of Mind Ultra, the Fringe. Working to get, basically controlling this entire triangle, but they're now facing down against the whole might of a king from one side, and they're about to be facing down the might of another. And with efficient trades like using welders in the front line with snipers in the back line and eating all of that metal, it is very, very hard to fight a plus 45% king. Now that the spam has arrived and is going to be bypassing that front line, is going to be even more of a trouble. So, well done to the players in the bottom right, the peasants managing to destroy their king, and almost managing to destroy a second. But unfortunately, just too much power out of the Kings this time. We probably should have dropped that bonus by 5%
destroyed.
when we saw how many white names were in the lobby.
It was quite an impressive push from this bottom right team. I think they had a T2 up at 5 minutes or something in that ballpark. It wasn't far behind Duffy's when they had their T2 up and getting their mexes going. For those that are interested, for once this round finishes, we've got a new lobby that's up and ready to go that we'll be jumping into in a sec. So you're more than welcome to jump into that one now.
Spanish is actually losing to Centurions at the moment. That is not something you see every day.
No, but when there's enough units to throw out the problem. Spanish is only
I think you
so
can
fast.
solve most problems with enough units to throw at the problem. Until you start making wreckages, until there's enough wreckages in the way that it is that you cannot push through. Question is, where is that last comm? And I think it's just been, there we go, it has been spotted. Oh no, that is pinged by the peasants, so it has not quite been spotted, but it does look like it might be in just a sec. Going for
Yeah,
a death or glory, we do appreciate that. There is absolutely no issue with trying to go for a final stand or a final win, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen with that wall of grunts.
No.
All it's going to take is for one of them to see it, or for the power to go out, and the power has gone out. Has been seen, and the comm is going to get a fair few kills before the end of this one. 28, 76 kills in as it dies with that explosion. GG, and congrats to the Kings. Well played. I particularly liked the defense up here. That was an interesting one, and we'll see if it stands the test of time. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get ready for that next one.
Alright.
Alright, let's see if I can't fix the bar official. Looks like we may possibly be able to go live on the official. Yes, yes we are. Excellent. Excellent.
Five, 6. Alright. 7 for this one, isn't it?
It is 7 for this one, yes. Alright, sorry about losing the screen for a second there. I was just doing it. Just getting myself live on the official. Welcome, official. Question is, who is going to want to be king in this new lobby of ours?
Not overly many by the look of it.
And just a heads up, if you are in another match at the moment and we can't start because of it, you will be swiftly removed.
Yes, once we get to the point where we've got both teams set and we're ready to go. If you're not ready, then we basically start specking people so that we can start.
Yes. While this is all... Well, we just give a minute for people to get into the lobby because it was just made. Tom, do you mind posting the rules for Throne? They should be in the welcome message already, but we'll just give them a quick post as well.
I should really write these down so that I have them all separate. I just can't copy the welcome message chunk and have it display everything nicely. Alright. Okay. Doesn't work with the dollar signs. Good to know.
I would assume that that's because dollar signs turn it into commands. Alright, I'm going to start adding some bonuses. Oh, I'll need to make myself a boss. There we go. Now I can add myself some bonuses. Alright, and that rounds off our kings, I would say.
Yeah, we've got a couple of potentially newer players up there, but
Yeah, newer players are just fine, though we also do see some returning names. I do very much so recognize Watch Behind. Oh, we've had one of them decide to bump themselves out, so we do need a 7th king again.
we're looking good for IDs.
I do like that we're looking good for IDs. We only have 6 kings at the moment.
Yeah.
We do need one more team 2.
Do you want me to jump in there just so that we can get going?
Yeah, if you want to, if you feel like playing. There we go. Let's just give you a plus 30. I'll make things fair. Alright, let's kick this one off.
I should probably ready up myself. That'd be a good idea. Let's get those last couple of players to ready up. He's getting hit. Deeds doesn't ready up in a sec. We'll spec him and we'll get underway, I guess.
Yep.
Let me ring again. Give him a second there. But it looks like we are just going to get underway.
Does indeed. Unfortunate, but it is what needs to happen to get us underway. Just going to lock the lobby for a second.
And we'll just double check
they're
that
readied
I'm
up.
not
Alright.
conflicting with anyone's IDs. Because that would be awkward.
You want to do the forced start, Tom?
Yep. There we go.
There we go. Unlocking the lobby. And getting in there.
Welcome, Commander.
That's right, I need to put stuff down, don't I? Up here.
Please choose your starting location.
Okay.
All right. So, and tonight not being faction wars means that both teams will have access to artillery.
Yes, that was interesting last time round, wasn't it?
To be honest, I quite liked that they had to bust the base with big, heavy units.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was an unexpected change, though. I'd kind of forgotten that Legion didn't have anything big to shoot with.
It does. They just count as LRPCs. And with LRPCs being removed, they were not available. So they're more like walking buildings than units.
Does everyone look like we're ready to go?
I think we just might be.
We'll give us a forced start then if you reckon we're ready to go.
I reckon we can do that.
Battle started.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to King of the Hill on a Throne. Fairly stacked peasants team if you look at this bottom half of the map. Co-op Corner Delight. You're joining us for some juicy King of the Hill where we've put 7 kings in the middle of the map with a 45% bonus. They're going to have to do their best to defend and push out and try and destroy all those rebellious peasants. Peasants, on the other hand, they've got the numbers, 46 of them, scattered around the map. Can they unite and push through and kill the kings before they're all destroyed? This is a case of much micro and not much money versus much money and not much micro. We will see what happens. Couple of rules just to let you know what's going on. 10-minute no rush timer. The lava will drop at 10 minutes. Very fancy. And I do appreciate it a lot. Then we also have turned air off, just because it would be fairly impossible for the kings to win that one with air on. There is way too little space to prevent a bombing run. It will just happen, and you will lose your stuff. LRPCs and other structure-based endgame units have been turned off. That means there will be no sitting safe in the back corner of the map and just shelling your way in. No, sir. Units are the name of the game. Couple of T2 restrictions, but those units have been taken out, so you won't be seeing much in the way of early missile units. Kings need the opportunity to defend themselves. One of the big rules that we do ask that is an honor rule: do not use structures offensively. The big and important ones here are Junos and EMPs. more than welcome for you guys to EMP and Juno each other in the area that is currently lava to your heart's content. Also happy for you to EMP and Juno your own section of the map to defend yourselves, but do not do it to the opponent's bases. Everyone knows where everyone is, makes it just that little bit unfair. Let's have a look in at the middle of the map. Couple of new kings, couple of returning heroes. We have Watch Behind in that middle eco position. The more you can feed him early, the more it'll pay off in the long run. We do have Avalons around the outside. Have seen Avalons before. Some new kid in the top right, Tank Tom. Never heard of that guy before. Probably sucks. Couldn't be good. No way. Not a chance. And then we do have a few other new names in the top as well. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting one for the Kings. The question is going to be just how much they are able to learn, and we'll learn from the videos in the past. Around the outside, we're seeing the most common thing ever, which is the bottom right-hand side, co-oping their way to a T2 Geo by well and truly less than 4 minutes. If they all help that, they're just getting those build turrets out first to get it done. Very nice. Just there, we're also seeing it elsewhere as well. Mazza getting that T2 lab a little bit later, but not a problem as well. Then, we do have what I do believe is the Discord corner. These guys, I think we're talking about being in Discord before the start of the match. Starting in the Dry Sea is rough. No mexes, which means you get the metal you have, plus the 2 that your com provides, and then whatever you can convert. If you work together, though, we've seen things like multiple fusions by the 10-minute mark, so always important to not try and go it alone. As you can see, when you do go it alone, you end up in the position of this pink player on the left-hand side. 0 metal plus 5 metal income, and that is just not a quick start at all.
Enemy commander destroyed.
Lots of comms going down around the map. This is very normal for the start of the match, but do bear in mind as a peasant, the comm is your most important unit. If the Kings come barreling down with some T3 at 10 minutes, it's gonna be rough to kill it. It is. It's hard. The Kings can do it, we've seen it before, but a comm can degun it. So a little bit of energy storage, invisible comms near the main entry points, good to go. Very, very safe, and then all the money that could have been invested in Eco and was invested into T3 suddenly turns into nothing. Very nice. Very nice indeed. Looking around the map, does look like we are going to be somewhat limited in our T2. We're going to be somewhat limited in our working together, only a handful of co-op corners. One of the things to bear in mind, you will get more even if it feels like you have less if you work together. The map is balanced around that, so always worth bearing in mind. Watch Behind, looks like Watch Behind has been handing out a fair few of the T2s. I'm seeing a couple of those around the map. So very generous there, but it does mean a little bit behind on that fusion. So 5 minutes going into that first fusion. Does look like there is the metal already there to get it down, counting the metal inside the advanced lab. So should be up and running. Hopefully we'll see him getting to an APHIS before that 10-minute mark. That is always a particularly good spot to be in, but it is dependent on other players having fed you in that first couple of minutes. Looking around the map, one thing to bear in mind for a few of our newer players, there are a handful of spots. I believe this is one here that units, particularly bots, can traverse, so there are a couple of sneaky ways through. As far as we know, there isn't across the top of these hills, but spiders make up for that, so defensive perimeters are always a good idea. Something that I would like to, that I will say, best practice as a king, build your economy right up until the 7-ish minute mark, maybe even the 8, before building units or defenses, because anything other than that, and you are leaving economy on the table. Sky is going to be having a bit of a rough time investing in this in these defenses before having something like a fusion to power themselves off of. They do have plus 45, which is nice to have. These providing, so the three together providing 30. Not sure where the additional is coming from. Maybe a little bit of conversion somewhere on the map. Still, 45 is not a bad amount to have. But twin guards are not going to be enough to defend against some of the pushes we've seen. Still, looking around the map, I don't think there's too much in the way of pushing coming. We usually see some indicators of it before the 8-minute mark, and at about 7 minutes 30 we're barely seeing any units. The Kings should be quite safe. Just having a look over
Enemy
here, we do
commander
see
destroyed.
Avalon's going for that second fusion, does have the metal to get it up, is going to be quite tight on defenses after that though, but with the build power should be just fine there as well. I do also advocate for unit-based defenses sometimes as well, though it's not typically my style.
Units are always handy to have available, basically to just plug any gaps that might appear.
Looking at Tank Tom's base, I'm fractionally concerned about the lack
Enemy
of
commander
wall
destroyed.
defenses, cliff defenses, but there is a decent amount of build power spread out here, so hopefully we'll be able to get those ones up. But as we said from the start of the match, we're not really expecting anything from this guy.
Not really.
Nah. What do you think of that Tank Tom character?
A bit useless.
Yeah.
Has had a habit of messing up his builds in the past. Getting to that 10 minutes and going, crap, I meant to build more stuff. You know,
So
things.
my take is that he doesn't get a lot of time to play the game. His builds don't look very refined.
Yeah, something like that. That sounds
Enemy
about right.
commander destroyed.
For those of you wondering, the other person talking is Tank Tom, if that wasn't entirely clear. Alright, 1 minute to go. Let's have a quick bandbox of the map. Let's see what is happening.
Oh, that is not what I meant to build.
37 offensive units on the map. I feel like this might be a bit of a passive start. Watch behind, also Aphis coming down before that 10-minute mark as well. Perfect. Very nicely done there. That is going to rocket him off to a very strong start. So one thing to understand with plus 45%, an Aphis is not producing 3,000 energy, it is producing close to 4,500. A metal converter is not producing 10, it's producing 14.5, which means you can power 6 of these things instead of the standard 4, and instead of producing 60, you're producing 90 basically. So an Aphis is a pretty big deal for the Kings, whereas for the rest of the map it is more
Lava
so
level
mixed bag for
dropping.
everyone. Interesting. This bottom right hand side, usually we see a lot more economy, but it does look like there may be the potential for some
Enemy
units
units
this
detected.
time. Hopefully we'll see first attack coming in on the left hand side, couple of probing units. It does look like they are going to catch out a few of the starlights, but nothing too major. Some ticks on the right-hand side getting pushed back by a stout push is going to cause some problems. Bottom side of the map
unit
is positioning
detected.
themselves with ticks. Whoever controls this middle ring usually does very well in the game, so early control matters. So too do defenses, and in this case, Avalon's is going with a T1
Tech
assault
3
of
unit
stouts. We've
spotted.
seen this a few times, very
Units
strong, because
under
losing
attack.
each one is cheap.
Unit
So it's not
lost.
particularly problematic. They have good amounts of health and they do decent damage. You can see they are chunking down that comm and just trying to stay out of range of the D-gun. D-gun's only grabbing a couple at a time. Does
Enemy
look like
commander
Daoshi is going to
destroyed.
destroy most of that defensive line with the comm explosion, and it is now open. Tick's coming in to clean this one up. At the same time, Tank Tom has found himself open lanes to come and stalk through. There is a Razorback cleaning units up, but as long as Tank Tom keeps his units nice and wide, he's going to do a lot of damage here. Pretty crazy to have a T3 right now. That has been T3 off of a single advanced fusion. Geothermal. Pretty impressive, and the Razorback manages to get into position to defend. So not quite enough units for that one. Defended on the right hand side as well. New attack coming on the left-hand side. It does look like the spam line is here. We have a frontline defensive Jaguars providing vision at the moment. And then we do have Starlights in the back just pumping at that damage. Each one of those shots is going to be doing a good amount. Weasel almost losing his comm there, but it does look like it is going to be safe. One thing we have missed, the spiders that came up from the players in the bottom right, they did sacrifice the eco for that, but they've completely cleared out one of the kings, which is not a good spot for the kings to be in at 12 minutes.
I need to go and deal with that.
That wing is essentially responsible for holding this section, which is now firmly claimed by the peasants. Still, peasants not... the peasants are still taking their licks, though, in the top left-hand side. And it looks like they're about to take some on the top right-hand side as well. Large quantities of T1 have whittled down that Razorback and are starting to make their way out and around. We'll see whether Tank Tom gets some damage on. Question is he going to manage to defend against the Vanguard? It's going to be very hard to take out the Vanguard, though, because it's going to lose a lot of that T1 to the static defenses. Static defense is very efficient because they do not move, therefore all of the metal cost gets put into the damage they can deal. I don't think he's going to get the Vanguard here, especially not with that Razorback, so still vulnerable. Has managed to get a shield up, though. So the question is going to be more units or more economy to try and counter. Push on the left-hand side is going quite well. The Starlights have just managed to take out the Geo. That essentially shuts this corner down. If only there'd been just a little bit more, because there's enough units to clean it up now, but there weren't earlier. Equilibrity is putting their comm in a risky position right now, but that reclaim is going to help them a lot, especially if they choose to consolidate power and expand, which, if they can do a nice quick APHIS, no problem with that whatsoever. Right-hand side has been pushed back nicely by those Razorbacks, so the T3 investment doing very, very well.
Destroyed.
Very little in the way of peasants being taken out except for this top left-hand side. Question is, where are they going to go from here? Peasants doing a pretty good job of keeping the kings contained in the bottom right-hand side. King going to take quite a lot of time to recover. This is where sending things like build power and makes the most difference, because right now it has taken multiple minutes just to grab that first construction turret back up. Now they'll start chaining a little bit, but always worth sending a little bit of build power if you can. Just if you've got a T2 factory, just grab some butlers or twitches, send them over. Always does a good job.
Your team reached Tech 3. Enemy commander
Question is, what is
destroyed.
going to happen next? Full left, one of the left quadrants has been taken out completely now. Units splitting both ways to see where they can go. Decent
Units
defenses
under
on
attack.
both sides.
Unit
In one side it is
lost.
Quakers with the Tigers in front. Tigers, though, do tend to suffer quite hard from Starlights, especially when those Starlights have a good amount of ranks on them. These guys with plus 55% health, and they do have negative 26% reload, which means that they're popping off quite nicely. The Jaguars in the front dealing with all that spam, so the shots actually going where they need to. This is going to be a rough hold for Wraith, and this is where units need to be coming online, and I do like this from the Dry Sea. Multiple players just sending spam, that's actually going to be quite effective against those Starlights. Bottom left-hand side, it does look like a small trickle of units have found their way through another one of the peasant bases, getting all the way to the Dry Sea before being destroyed. Lots of damage done along the way, but nothing too bad. The gap does look like it's being closed, and from the top side of the map it can mostly be closed. Their defenses mostly being done with the persecutors in the high ground. Here we go, big offense coming here from Oodles, trying to get as much damage onto the defenses. He's running into those, into the Fiends, but with all those ticks around, the Fiends are taking plenty of splash damage, and good shots coming from all of the Sheldons. The Sheldons now starting to do damage to the defenses. Once those defenses are gone, this is going to be a reasonably open section of the map. Oof. Oof, good return damage I do believe that was a double hit from the 2 gauntlets that are there. Absolutely shrekking down a lot of those tightly packed Sheldons. You got to keep those nice and spread. Offense effectively blunted by some static D. Top left-hand side, we do have Tank Tom getting ready to assist with a lot of T1 units as the sole remaining Starlight, might be a new Starlight, as well as the Jaguars keep trying to push their way in. Unfortunately for Tank Tom, did run into a comm that was particularly trigger happy on those D-guns, loses all of that T1, but takes the comm. Killing a comm is always a victory, but it is a costly one when it could be a base instead. Now having to deal with triple Razorback. Question is, does Tank Tom have what he needs to deal with triple Razorback? In fact, does this defensive line have what it needs to do with triple Razorback at all? And the answer is no. No,
Yeah,
it doesn't.
That is a
If these units just walk straight in, they could get to the center. There's only one demon, 2 demons now. Even then, you might be able to punch nice and deep. Unfortunately, they are concentrating on the defenses. Sometimes when you see it's this lightly defended, you actually just have to try and run by, because
run straight through. Losses are acceptable.
There is a very pretty amount of eco in that middle, and all it would take is about half a second with a Razorback to pop all the hopes and dreams of the Kings, but it is not meant to be. Just enough rocked up for defense. Bottom side of the map is well contained now. With so much static defense, they just cannot get close. They're going to have to build up and work out what to do. The bottom side of the map, which did that impressive attack with the spiders that we missed, has gone from a single APHIS all the way up to 6, so their economy is now well and truly rolling. Plus 300 it means Shiva time, and one of the things about Shivas, they're your cheapest long-range missile unit in this mode, because all the others have been disabled up until the T3 point, which means that even though there's a shield up for Hey Hooten, shield's not so good against missiles.
No, they are not.
Missiles. Does look like the Kings are about to lose a comm on the left-hand side. The counterattack by Wraith has managed it, but Wraith is now out of position to help against all of these demons. Oop, we do have a pause. What was that for?
I am not sure.
It does look like demons trying to make their way down, but the static D is doing a nice job of holding them back. Nothing looks too egregious at this stage.
I'm not feeling anything.
Yes, I think it might have just been an accidental. There we go, now that the demons have collected themselves together, instead of trying to fight one by one, managing to push through the bulwark as well as the pop-up, and trying to take out the vanguards, but the vanguards do hefty chunks of damage each time. Still, Tank Tom's T1, giving good scouting information, and the units are starting to pour in. Still, this is what we were waiting for, the bottom left-hand side. The Shivas are doing Shiva things, and they are firing their missiles up into the base. Looks like a bit of a scatter approach. What is their vision right now? Not great, but they do have a little bit because they're building cameras, so they are able to see at least some of it. So those missiles are going up. They have found the comm, putting a few missiles on that as well. I actually want to see these shield generators going down so that things like vanguards can do work up there as well. I like this. Top right hand side, all the players are coming online. They're not just building static D and hoping that they're one.
There is a lot of units up here that they're dealing with.
One of the things we normally see is players will see an attack happening to the player above them, and they'll be like, oh no, I must build static defense. And so they build static defense between them and the player that's being attacked. And usually, if there's enough units to kill a player, there's enough units to push through one player's worth of static defense. It might sound crazy, but if you're going to do it that way, you might even want to sacrifice your own base and build it behind you with another person, so you have 2 people's worth of static D. Or just the simplest solution, build units. Oh no! all the recluse have gotten into melee range with the
demons.
demons, and
One
that's
with
basically
fire.
an entire recluse force destroyed. Geegs did manage to get the D-guns off on at least one of them, but still, that's a huge loss for the peasants in the
Enemy
top
commander
right-hand side. That was a
destroyed.
chunk of their defensive force, as well as an opportunity to attack Tank Tom whisked away. And they're just having to fight demon after demon, and the comm is gone now as well. So their ability to get offensive onto Tom is massively diminished, and this is why we talk about controlling that middle wing as being crazy important. Big push happening at the bottom hand side. We do have a lot of stouts trying to punch their way in, but they're just making a wall of wreckages that nothing can really break through. The Shiva's a little bit out of position to make this happen. I realistically would try to keep the Shivas in this sort of area here so they can get their missiles on, potentially launch some siege shells up into the high ground, but just get as much damage as they can from a distance, because these things are going to be one of the ways you can crack those defenses. Catapults work pretty well too. It does look like the peasants are holding it nice and steady, but big economies out of the king. If you look on the right hand side, we have two kings that are barely spending their metal. One of those is Harry Hooten, who is struggling to get back online. Not too much help out of his allies to make that happen. Oh no, left hand side in the left wing, not enough defenses for Landrin. Kargi's walking through, and they have managed to collect the entire base, grabbing the production. Now the T2 lab gone, most of the eco gone. They have missed the APHIS though, so that's at least recoverable. And with one build power patch left, should be able to come back online reasonably quickly. But it does show a massive vulnerability, and if the rest of the kings can push that, it'll be a nice big claim. So I actually think at this stage, favor is currently in peasant favor, because none of the dry seas have been claimed, and only a few pocket wings have been claimed, none of the particularly big ones. And if you look at the economy, it's 2,000 currently for the peasants, for the kings, and 4,000 for the peasants, which is not what you want to be seeing. Especially if you're a king. So these guys are going to have quite a rough time pushing out. It is by no means unstoppable, but one of the
whole team is wasting metal.
Because the peasants have to have units walk all the way around the map, it's very hard for them to engage solidly in one position. So the kings can do a lot in any one particular place that they try to push out from. But it is still very rough, and now that we're seeing the catapults starting to come online, in fact quite a few of them, 11 catapults on the field, some of them being for the kings, but it does look like 6 or 7 of them out on the outside starting to show their way in. It is just making life very difficult for those kings up there. Tank Tom really struggling to push out, and unfortunately their unit focus has meant that the economy has just fallen a little bit behind. But at the end of the day, with the overflow coming from the other players, he's been sitting at high metal, so he hasn't really felt the need to expand. But now that that is coming to an end and he's moving into T3, definitely going to be feeling the hurt for not having that economy earlier.
I need to make the transition just so that I've got enough punch to get out.
Question is, what is it that the kings can do right now to change their fate? Right hand side, this is one of the things they can try to do. They are pushing back with a large number of welders. They're pushing back with a very large number of snipers. Snipers and welders are still very effective at this stage of the game, and the front entrance is wildly defended for Avalons. Just a casual 10 pulsars to keep the lane open. Do bear in mind that resources spent on defenses usually don't help. They are almost entirely just end up being delays when you're on the losing end. Units are the name of the game. Each one of these is, I do believe, let's find a builder. Each one of these is 3,500. So you're looking, with 10 of them, 12 of them currently, you're looking at quite a lot of offensive power right there. You could be sitting on, eight catapults, or in this case vanguards, maybe more, which would then be useful for pushing down the opponent's defenses. So always a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other sort of response. I like to get a little bit of static D so I can leave my base and not really worry about it, then try and go into units after that. Peasants, though, starting to get in a pretty good position here, moving up onto the high ground with the vanguards. Defenses are beginning to mount, but with the low ground firepower, they should do a nice job to break through. Cargonets are quite strong at pushing back vanguards. As you can see how quickly they are melting them, and they are outrunning the vanguard shots with the vanguards, and they can chase the vanguards over the wall, which is nice. But the moment they chase the vanguards over the wall, they are going to put themselves in quite a scary amount of firepower's range, just like that pulsar. Top side of the map, another attempted push out. Does look like it's happening at the same time as a big push from the peasants trying to break in with T1, but mammoths are mammoths are pretty effective. Friendly fire though coming down from a high ground Tank Tom catapult. If that one fires right now with those units
spotted
next to the build power, no, one more second of charge time and that could have been quite the loss for the Kings, but no dice. Kings not having not having too much luck pushing out. They're regaining some of the areas they've taken in the past, but this is a T2 army, mostly Fiends, T1 Grunts, and Sheldons. Once the opponents manage to jump on that, it's not going to last too quickly. We'll see how far it can get. Might be time to send that into the dry sea and just clean that area up, depending on how far the Kings think it's going to go. Push down into the right hand side. All the welders have been cleaned up. The snipers did not follow, which means the welders died for very, very little just there. The snipers are needed to back them up if you want the welders to do the job. Welders exist somewhat as a tank and anti-spam problem. They do struggle a little bit with the later tier units. And with pushing into the defensive line that does exist there. Oh dear. Something popped up in the middle of the map. I do believe.
Stealthy units detected.
I do not know what that was. But that's a big problem for the Kings, because that was a huge amount of their economy wrapped up in the middle of the map, which means that they're currently producing ludicrous amounts of energy, but very little in the way of very little in the way of metal. So that really drops them down into a very rough position. They do have the units to keep holding a lot of this back, but everything they lose is going to be harder and harder to replenish. So the peasants can start trading less and less efficiently.
Received.
My guess is that they may very well have been friendly fire. With so many catapults around the map, it would only take any unit looking like it was going to get to the middle by the time the catapult fired for it to pop off. So doesn't look like around the outside, a couple of the termites trying to do their best to do damage, but they are most certainly fighting inside enemy defensive ranges, so not getting too much done. But these two, they could get quite a lot done, especially with the Sheldons shelling them. With the Shivas shelling them, but unfortunately taken out before they could do too much. There was a lot here they could have destroyed, but it did not quite eventuate. The T2 units that Tank Tom had around the outside along with the catapults have managed to carve a decent chunk into the dry sea. Does look like a lot of them have been cleaned up. A second wave of units coming, and these mammoths, if they can stay in front, are going to be quite the deterrent. On the right-hand side, though, they are quite split up, and they are in range of those snipers. So if the snipers can fire for effect, going to be taken out quite nicely. Does look like a big Kargi push is just about to hit. is about to hit the kings, but it doesn't matter. We had vanguards on the right-hand side
commander
managing
destroyed.
to get shots right up
Friendly
into the
player
middle of the
resigned.
map. That one Aphis on the very edge turning out to be the Doom that has cascaded
Warning,
across multiple
minefield
economies.
detected.
So it does look like the Kargi's coming up here as well. The Kargi's taking a lot of damage. There is quite a lot of units up here to stop them. The Mammoths in particular are going to be doing quite nicely against them. But at the end of the day, the front line has broken, which means
Friendly
that the
player
kings have
resigned.
ceded too much ground. The problem the kings face in this map is once a player falls, once an economy falls, it becomes infinitely harder because you're all stuck together, unlike Claymore, where one falling is not an instant problem for everyone involved. Still, nicely played out of the kings, especially considering how fresh quite a few of them were, but the peasants just overwhelming force here. So they have managed to punch their way well deep.
Friendly commander destroyed. Warning.
One comm
you
left
are the
for
last
the
commander of your team. Enemy commander destroyed.
one comm left for the kings, and it should not take long to clean that one up. Tang Tom's economy is going to struggle to push back everything
Unit
coming his way.
received.
And
Front
as
lines.
mentioned before, all those
Commander
pulsars,
under attack.
very nice that they existed
Commander
for defense,
taking
but
heavy
unfortunately,
Commander
it didn't end
destroyed.
up making too much of a
Friendly
difference
player
because of the
resigned.
attack angle coming from the bottom. GG, and that is well played to the peasants. Let's have a quick look at those economies, see how that one ran. Damage dealt, as you can see, a couple of the kings really escalating hard at the beginning, but unfortunately unable to convert that one into a win. But the big deal here is how many peasants really fought in that first little engagement before 20 minutes, which kept the kings somewhat on the back foot. Very nicely done. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump into the next one. We will see you there.
Yeah, let me grab bits and pieces for the next one.
Let us indeed. I see in chat we're hearing that the kings should be made harder. With a plus 45, we're actually sitting at incredibly even odds on throne. We usually see the kings win a couple, followed by the peasants winning a couple, which is quite nice because they each adapt to each other.
That 45
Just
is
a heads up for everyone, this is going to be the last match of the night.
that 45 means that you can comfortably get up at least a fusion and then decide whether you want to go for a riskier kind of 2 or 3 fusions or start transitioning into army or defenses at that point. Without having too much economy that if you survive through the 10 to 12 minute mark, you can then just absolutely crush from that point onwards. I don't believe we have the powers to select which server we go
do
to,
not.
so it would just be basically roll the dice, and it may or may not be better. The reason it's in Australia
Well,
is
we
'cause
would
that's-
have to do it. We would have to start a new lobby, which we can't really do because this one's already been opened up for us. So this is where we are tonight. We do tend to try and host these ones on the EU, but tonight it has just happened that I think we're on Australian. I'm guessing, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We do need 9 kings this time.
I could definitely feel it slowing down towards the end of that last one. Thankfully, I was still within 5 seconds, which is close enough when you end up just getting large masses of units and throwing them in directions. RIDs have been rather stable recently. It's been a while since I've had to go through and adjust a whole bunch, which is nice. Cool. And that is 9.
That is 9. All right, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we're going to be looking at a... Oop, one has dropped off.
That's right. Do we have timing changes with Easter next weekend?
Good question. Do you really think I know these things?
Look,
Because I definitely don't know
I
these
vaguely
things.
remember something, so we'll make sure that we put the announcement out early for next week, because there's a good chance it might move by an hour. In which direction, I can't remember.
Alrighty, I reckon we should start looking at kicking this one off.
Everyone except the king's readied up. And let me chuck in that block of text. What? No, it doesn't.
Alright. Land Raiden, you've got 30 seconds to ready up. I can see that you're active in chat and you're trying to join the Discord channel, but you have 30 seconds to ready up.
If you need to, it might be worth jumping out of the lobby and back in again. We can't make ready. Otherwise, I'd do that so that we can get started. But I don't have any way to get you.
So it doesn't matter what the command is, we can't use it. We don't have the permissions. Alright, looks like we are good to go. I'm going to lock that lobby.
Just going to double check that we look fine on our IDs because we had a few people shuffle, but I think we should be. Yes, we are, and we are good to go.
Mr. Drowdy, unfortunately, you are being spec'd. Oh, I think I just spec'd someone who was ready. My bad, but...
We'll give them a sec to jump back in if they're going to.
Yep. Yep, alright, good. Alright, let's go.
Welcome, Commander.
So for those of you watching the live stream, one player goes there, then every other player goes in one of the 6 stacks with 2 lanes to defend. There we go. Should work themselves out. Looks like some confusion happening in the middle. We might see a new strategy. One thing to bear in mind that if Geeds does end up building that mech and walking all the way to the front, I can guarantee you will end up with less metal at 10 minutes than you would have if you started halfway in between the 2 up the front there, because walking time in that first 30 seconds is a crazy factor for how much metal you end up with total at 10 minutes.
Yeah, that first couple of minutes makes a huge difference as to where you are at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because you basically need to get up enough metal and energy to get to T2 as fast as you possibly can, and get your T2 mixes up, and get your first fusion up and running, and then you can start to breathe at that point. But up until then, it is all hands on deck to get that eco up and running.
Righty, I reckon that it is time to kick this one off.
Alright, let's go.
Battle started.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to King of the Hill on Raptor Crater. Joining me in the casting booth is Tank Tom, and I am, as always, Pradith. Today we have 53 peasants versus 9 kings, and we'll see exactly how that one goes. A lot of new faces in the crowd today, a lot of confusion, but we like that. We do, in fact, encourage anyone who wants to play the game to give it a go. The big request that we have is that if you're going to play in the king's position, just make sure that you can get to a fusion with defenses or units by the 10-minute mark. That's the big goal. In the middle of the map, we do have 9 positions. One in the middle, which is unique, gets the most mexes, but his job is to patch all the holes and build that economy juggernaut. Around the outside, everyone else gets 6 mexes and 2 lanes to defend. Make sure that you don't over-eco and fail to protect those lanes, but also Don't under-eco, because the earlier you get that eco, the more units and the more future eco it can translate into. 8 minutes is a good point to start trying to defend. Anything too much before that is detrimental to your growth. Anything too much after that is detrimental to your life, at least in game. Around the outside, we do have many more possible positions. If you look at these corners, we call these co-op corners. We would highly recommend that you work together to get a single T2 lab and then punch out T2s for as many people as possible. The more metal on the map, the better, because any help you can give these guys into the front is going to mean more time for you to eco before you have to come online. Potentially even means offensive pushes at the 10-minute mark, and we know how badly the Kings can deal with those if there's enough of them.
if
you're
you can
directly
have
in front of
solid push from each quadrant on the map, we've never seen a Kings team survive that through the sort of 10 to 15 minute window.
Exactly. And if you're on the front line position in front of one of these ramps, you've got two choices. Static defense, which is good, but
Static
even better
defense
is
works
units.
As early warning systems. Units are what you can use to properly clean up and push out.
It also means that if you need to move those units, you can. Static defense is stronger by its nature because all of that metal spent is on a immovable structure, which means the stats have to go somewhere. But the units allow for you to mount defenses with other people. If you're on top of one of these ridges, please make sure that you assist the players on either side. If they're going static defenses, maybe supplement with units, or just add to the static defense. You are in a vulnerable position, though. If you're on one of these areas here in between the outside of the maps, you guys are the most vulnerable. You don't have someone behind you to back you up. You're probably not going to get T2, so work together to make it happen together. Alrighty then. Oh dear, it does look like Glossier might be a fraction AFK. Maybe not. No, that was the comm detonating. That metal is going to fund the T2. Early T2 is good, because the earlier you can get those mechs, the better.
That is going to be nice.
Well, you just have to make sure you don't lose too many comms, because we have seen games won and lost by how many comms were where.
Yeah, if you end up with only a couple of comms and they end up being in a weaker lane and they get popped early, it doesn't matter what the rest of your economy looks like, that's game over.
So just to point out the power of co-op eco, this bottom right hand side, it's under 4 minutes and they're 50% of the way through a fusion. Compare that to the bottom left hand side, they have a T2 lab. Compare that to the top left side, they don't even have a T2 lab.
Well, compare
that
it to the
top
Kings.
right hand side, and there look to be multiple T2 labs in the build queue. So that's the power of co-op eco.
T2's up. But none of them have got their fusions running yet.
And you might say, oh, there are 3 players in this top right-hand corner. Yep, that's true. But if you just, as 3 players, work together, you can do a lot more. Corners like this can do a lot more if they work together.
The first game this evening, we saw 3 players get to T2 within 5 minutes.
Exactly. And the difference that co-op makes is crazy. We are seeing some mines being put down by Tom the Ruler. I do like this. They are useful to generate you metal in the early game, and they also function a role later on. They are paused at the moment so that all of the energy is being converted and getting the T2. So that is nice.
Commander,
there you have to just balance your micro and your macro. But the early stage of the game,
energy converters, right?
Yes. If they're positioned here, they're landmines. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
They serve a purpose for building your eco, and they're rather expendable. I like to put some converters on the edges of my bases, so that when you get some ticks run by, they hit the conversion blows up, the ticks die, and they do their job.
Yep, one of the things that I've started doing is creating blocks of them just all over the place, so people go for them and think they're getting a win, when it's buying me time for basically no cost, and it's buying
T1 energy converters.
Yeah, T1. T1 energy converters are basically free. So let's have a look. So T1 energy converter is 1250 energy and 1 metal at a converter's rate of 70 to 1. That means that they're basically 21 metal. 21 metal for a landmine is not bad. I think it's slightly more expensive than a actual mine, but it can generate you money, so probably pays for itself. Not to mention people like to go after them and waste their own time. Does look like we're starting to get some units building up in a few different areas. I don't mind this, but without T2 mexes, the amount of units is going to be very, very low. It doesn't look like they've gotten a T2 from their corner, because the top left-hand corner is currently building 3 T2 labs, with the first one just completing. So just bear this in mind. Each T2 lab is almost 3,000 metal. If you work together, you only have to spend it once. If you don't, it's 9,000 metal sitting there doing nothing when it could be 3,000 metal.
3,600 is a fusion.
Yeah, so you could have 2 fusions on top of that one lab. Not to mention, you could have handed out T2 to everyone much earlier. It's just the difference that makes is huge, and we're seeing the same thing in the right-hand corner. 3 T2s going down. It does look at least like the bottom left-hand corner has only done the 1 T2, so it is very, very, very hard for the peasants to win if only one corner co-ops.
Because these maps are essentially balanced around those corners coming online at that 15 to 20 minute mark, somewhere in there.
The map is balanced around 50% of people knowing the builds, essentially. And we've seen some absolute crushings when everybody does, because, man, when there's 4 co-op corners, big co-op corners, we're talking like an APHIS in each corner by 10 minutes and 6 in each corner by 15 minutes. That's so much eco to push down on the Kings. And then we're talking about front lines that got T2'd early, and they just keep hammering and hammering and hammering, so the Kings are building units and not scaling eco.
It is worth mentioning that the peasants on the front line play a huge role on that 10 to 12 minute mark. If they can have 20 to 40 units each, and they all push at once at that 10 minute mark, there will be gaps in the King's defenses. You can guarantee it. And
yes,
if you can
for
put
example,
pressure down every
1
ramp
minute away.
Oh yeah.
And the Fringe has 1.5 twin guards,
which is
now,
not the best part about that is you don't have to go through defenses. As a peasant, you can just
go around them.
Go around them.
Is getting twin guards, which will help a lot. Oh, sorry, is getting pounders, which will help a lot. I actually like the pounder defense.
Pounders are great,
but the pounder
T1
defense can be gone around. So, for example, the best attack right now at 10 minutes would be down the lane, through the gap here, and just straight over into Tom the Ruler's base. Yeah. Because if you try and go up to the Fringe, the pounders will be in the way, but Tom the Ruler will have basically nothing, and just go up and through. And there's plenty of bases that can do that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as Tank Tom said, that's 10 minutes. The lava has dropped. It is go, go, go time, and we will see what is coming at the Kings and coming at the peasants. First little engagement is going to be cleaned up on the bottom side. Top side, we do see some fiends coming in. They're having to run into exploiters, and
I do like that. That is going to do a fantastic job of wiping those out with that construction turret backing it up.
Top right-hand side, we do see Chasro. He understands. He knows exactly what's going on. He has bypassed a lot of the defenses and is now running into someone else's base. So someone who did defend their lane is about to eat a face full of pawns. Is going to lose quite a few of those pawns to the Pulsar.
That's going to do a good job of keeping this base alive. However, with no units and only some build power, they are going to well and truly clean up a bunch of this. That T2 build
no,
power.
they're not.
No, they're not.
Nope, they all changed their
Oh.
targets and didn't get any damage done. A little bit of damage happening in the middle, but all in all, not too bad right here. We do have a single tick in the back lines, just doing some damage where it can. A few more pouring through. Noids is having a bit of trouble defending his second lane at the moment. That one was being held by mines, but it is no
Mines
longer
are
being held by
one-time
mines.
only. And we can see some things coming out there for those units being seen that can be eaten with things like build power, or just sending a unit in that direction.
What is it even shooting? Because I'm not seeing it really doing... Oh, okay, it's shooting the advanced constructor, but it's being healed by the turrets.
As
will
it
eventually...
levels up, it will eventually overpower the healing from the turrets. Because you can just watch that DPS tick up.
I mean, now that it's got the assist of the console, it is not going down particularly quickly, but...
You can just eat the tick, is the other option
you
here.
can eat the tick.
We'll see if that ends up happening. I do like how we're
feel like that's
seeing...
just going to be there for a while. There we go, we've
Console
got
was
Tom the
coming
Ruler
across.
who's coming in to eat the tick. Oh man, tick warfare right there. Love it.
Ticks can be incredibly powerful. If you can get them in and hit things like conversion or build power, they can be an absolute menace, and you don't need many to get through for it to be devastating.
No, you don't. Does look like more ticks are starting to come through, but the Jags are here to try and clean that up. Still, a few have made it through, and no additional layers of defense. I would like to see them targeting things like the wind just there. Wind in a pack is actually super valuable. Wind is one of the most cost-efficient versions of
I do like that they're going for the conversion.
Generation. Yeah, good enough. Kind of. They could have done more, but that's not
They
a
could have
problem.
grabbed the build,
Especially
the wind on the way
considering the
through.
follow-up.
Yeah. I do like that since they've opened up a lane here, they're now continuing to use that.
Commander.
Well, and look how many
destroyed.
players are like this whole section. The peasants have identified that this is a weakness, and so we have dark blue, light blue, weird blue, ocean blue, purple.
Many players combining
other
to
color.
punch
Teal,
through
I
here.
think. All heading down, and that means the player in the middle is having to focus on units. I would have actually liked to see Watch Behind going into units earlier here, because the units are currently trickling in as the enemy, as the peasants are getting in. It would be great if those units had managed to come in before it managed to come in, but plenty of wreckages, which means that Noids can get back online rather quickly. Lots of metal availability there. With the Fiends coming in these numbers, though, it's going to be much harder to punch through. Risky spot out of Tom the Ruler for the... they're not real fusions!
Ah,
Oh, I love that! That's awesome!
that's great.
It does look like top side of the map is under a decent amount of threat as well. Mammoths pushing in with some Shell Shockers. The Shell Shockers forcing the Sheldons to keep on the move, and the Sheldons keep getting into range of those Mammoths. It is going to take Sheldons a very long time to kill Mammoths. If only there was a little bit of healing to keep them up and running. Question is, who's helping follow up on this? Look at all these units just one ramp over. Just go in and help. You don't need to worry about your own lane right now.
Yeah, would
Just
love
go
to
in
see
and
those
help.
units swing in and provide some covering fire. Rush those Sheldons. Force them to shoot at
And-
multiple units at once.
And this is why we talk about static defense as not always the best option. So on the right hand side of that ramp, 3 wardens, 3 beamers, a bunch of mines, walls, the whole shebang. If those were units, you could easily crush 4 twin guards and push in with that, double ramping it. And we do love double ramping. Left side, big force pushing up, but they have pounders for days to get into that. So currently a bit of a stalemate around the map,
I
which
do
we
like that they're getting the T2 Tremors to come through to try and punch some holes in that line, and they've managed to mash
Snipers
the
as
units.
well.
And they're
Problem
making
is,
their push. Not much is going to
that
live
push
through
is-
this line.
That push is not going to
Pounders
get
are
through. That's
utterly
pounders.
devastating.
Yeah. Need to let the snipers do their work, need to let the tremors do their work, because there's no chance of pushing through that many pounders anytime soon. And now, without that spam there, the Tigers are going to come in and take out the more expensive units.
Whilst things like this are going on, a push like that will draw probably both kings to it. It means that there's more often than not going to be an opening that opens up elsewhere, where if you can send some scouting units in a different direction, there's a reasonable chance that you can make it through.
Exactly. Like right now, we do have Landoran's base is currently only defended by static defense blocks. Because all the Tigers are pushing out and through. Now, as peasants, you want to defend this, and they're actually doing a pretty good job right now. Slightly early on the D-gun there, but still takes out the entire column on the left. But these Tigers are getting in, and they are doing a lot of damage. Tigers versus T1. The Tigers take a lot to take down, and when they're only fighting things like pawns and grunts, getting a good amount of damage done. And unfortunately, Citizen 3 is going to lose both of those fusions. Thankfully, the wreckages are still there, which means that they can be rezzed. But the Pounders are now coming up in the background to fight with the Tigers, or to do a
Good
secondary
D-guns.
push after the Tigers. That's going to be quite rough. Top of the map does look like my prediction was correct, that taking out those twin guards would be quite easy. And now the only defenses are being hammered down by long-range missile units, and we're seeing spam coming in as well to give vision for those accurate shots. So this is going to be quite a pounding that the Kings are going to be taking in the short term, but, and this is a big but, the middle of the map has been allowed to eco a lot. So economies right now fractionally 50% in favor of the peasants, but 50% in favor of the peasants is not crazy at this stage of the game. And with T3 on the map, it will start becoming quite hard, and the T3 is in the best possible place it could be. With this side being the Kings with the most co-oping, we're seeing 3 APHIS, multiple fusions, multiple APHIS coming down, versus all other corners that are 1 APHIS, 2 APHIS, and a couple of fusions. So they are in the best place to make the most difference. Demons, however, are quite vulnerable to damage. And with the high ground units here and the hounds, they're actually taking quite a lot. Comms need to be invisible to fight this, though. A demon will melt a comm in seconds. Still, with 3 of them basically making it through, that one's about to drop. They're going to get a lot of damage done here. Just Eddie, 2 D guns should be able to all miss, and that's going to be 1 left to be taken out. Another comm, not invisible, which means it got taken out near instantly. And these 5 demons have just wrecked an entire lane. Oh, if just a fraction more had gone up the hill, it would have chain reacted, but that's okay. Invisible Troll's coming to D-gun it, but it's standing right next to all that conversion, so it's going to take a nice hefty chunk on the comm damage-wise, and is not invisible, therefore blows up all of his allies' solar collectors. So that was quite costly, and a lot of that cost was, quite simply, non-invisible comms.
I can't.
King's in a good spot at the moment, even though they haven't done too much damage outside of the map just yet, but Peasants also in a good spot because they are the ones currently doing the sieging, but we're not seeing any places where the siege is heavy. So we will end up seeing which team scales better, and it is currently going to be the Kings because they are only fighting the 1 co-op corner. As you can see, the economy gap. Peasants were at 3,000 and Kings were at 2. Kings are now at 3,000, Peasants are still at 3,000.
I can't delete units tonight. Turns out.
What do we need to delete?
Top of the map, Persecutor, just there.
Yep. Let's try. Nope, does not look like I can either. So we are just
Commander
playing on a bit of an
destroyed.
honor rule system tonight. Thankfully, it is not doing there's nothing that it's currently hitting that is too important. It's just tapping some units on the way in, which it would be doing if it had been built in the correct position anyway. And with those demons coming in, I have a feeling that this corner is not long for the world. Because right now, what they have to defend those corners are comms, and the comms are not in position to defend those corners because they didn't stand at the ramps.
And there is enough demons there that as soon as the comm becomes visible, it will then get absolutely
Commander
nuked.
destroyed.
Just like that.
So we do have one comm that is heading into the right position to deal with this, that is invisible. Question is, will the demons be split up enough to kill the comm
Commander
after it gets its
destroyed.
D-gun off? Will it even... Actually, it's not even going to get into position. The demons are coming down the top edge, which means that it did not get to the ramp quickly enough. The build power is useful, but you do need to make sure that you end up getting it into defensive positioning early enough that it can be helpful. So that is essentially a co-op corner cleaned out. In fact, it is a co-op corner cleaned out, even though the comm has managed to take one of those demons. The other one is far enough away; it's going to grab all the rest of that economy before the peasant can really do anything about it. Not to mention, there's like 20 other demons just rolling riot. So
Yeah.
peasants need to do something right now, or the game will start to
Commander
spiral out of
destroyed.
control for them, because the kings have just pipped them in production capabilities as well as unit capabilities, and the army value is already 69%
Commander
in
destroyed.
favor. Very hard to stop a rolling army.
Commander
OC
destroyed.
TV, very nice double D gun from on the cliff there, will probably get out as well. Nicely done just there. I do love it when people use terrain to their advantages, but 3 demons are still going to get into the next base across, and there is little to nothing that can stop them here, because I'm not seeing a comm anywhere near in range. Other than... Oh, actually, they are being stopped. They're being stopped by lack of commands. And there we go. They are back on the move.
Lack of commands is something that can be fixed relatively easily. And that's because they've now got, what's that, 2-3 different groups of demons around the map.
Yeah.
This is where they essentially start grabbing a chunk, giving them a direction to be a menace in, grab the other chunk, run them in the other direction, and basically start wrapping around the map.
Demons just have such high DPS. They are reasonably easy to kill. They just have really high DPS.
When you start throwing them in groups of like 10, you can afford to lose a couple along the way, and when there's a steady stream of them coming out, you're not overly concerned by losing some. Ideally, you'd have things like T1 flowing past them to provide that vision for them, and to eat the shots of any of those other bigger units like T2 and things. Ideally, they'd find the comms so that they can just pop them on the way through. Because the comms are basically the biggest challenge that they've got to face off against. Seeing a push down this bottom left side from some Marauders, I don't think they're going to be able to make it in.
They did take out most of the tremors which were causing problems. Kargis, however, are decent enough at dealing with the spam, and they've got the backup of the tremors, so they do have the long-range damage done. And while that's going on, we're just getting demon after demon produced from the middle of the map, just pushing in every direction. This is similar to what happened when I was the middle of the map a few weeks ago. Just once the Razorback production started, I just didn't stop, and that's exactly what Watch Behind is doing, but better, because Watch Behind's economy is a ludicrous number of APHIS, and mine was like 10.
Yeah, he's operating off 2,230 odd metal.
He's operating off of 2/3 of the income of the peasants. And that's what happens when you don't co-op those corners and you don't give the players the T2s. They can't push the kings enough to prevent the middle of the map from just ecoing. Because every single APHIS that you put down in the middle of the map before you have to switch to units means that you have so much more metal to play around with. So let's say that to defend, you need to consume 150 metal per second. If you're only producing 150 metal per second, you can't do anything. But if that happens later on in the game when you're producing 300 metal a second, then you've just slowed your economy production by 50% instead of 100%. It is so important to force that king in the middle to stop producing eco early by pressuring those lanes.
Demons are coming out about 1 every 10 seconds. Oh, sorry, that's from that lab.
That's from that lab. There's 3 labs.
Yeah. That's a few demons.
It is a few demons, though. Nice thing is, in the last game, we were asked to give the peasants more of a challenge.
I think this counts.
I think this does count. The thing, okay, so this is something which I want to look at. Top left-hand corner, right? Dr. Benchpress has got enough snipers that he is effectively one-shotting Razorbacks and one-shotting demons. Imagine what could have happened if they'd co-opt those out and been able to hold that further away.
If that
because
was...
again, demons don't have that much health.
No, they do not. And if you've got
Look how
enough
quickly that
firepower
goes down.
that you can kill one, advance a few steps, kill the next one, advance a few steps, and have enough firepower to hold them at bay, rather than just at the top of the ramp, then it becomes a very scary prospect as a king when you can see the peasants advancing down that ramp, making a beachhead, pushing forwards, because if you don't have enough units to be able to punch through them, you're unlikely to be able to build enough eco whilst holding them off to be able to achieve that. You basically need to hold long enough that a friend can come and help you at that stage.
Question is, what do the peasants do here to try to win? Because I would say that the best shot they have right now is that bottom left-hand side... bottom right-hand side big Shiva push. Problem is, unsupported. And they're falling for the decoy fusions.
That's great. We haven't seen many of the decoy fusions, but I do like seeing them used. We've heard them referred to as T3 walls previously.
They are T3 walls. All these units have to do is hit this one advanced energy converter, and it will chain react everything.
So many things. And this is the benefit that the peasants have. As time goes on, the middle gets more and more and more filled, and it gets to the point where if you can hit something, it'll chain react through most of the bases.
Yep, but unfortunately it did not happen. Too many demons coming online. But just think, if there had been a second corner doing the same thing at the same time, demons can only be in one place.
If you can get units in that avoid the stream of demons coming out, the thing is, the kings can only do so much, and if you can force them to be defending in multiple positions, then as long as you can pull them from one side of the map to the other and create slightly larger gaps to be able to push into, sooner or later you will be able to crack into that middle section.
And that's one of the things to look at. The top left-hand side is completely clear. It's about to be full of demons and Razorbacks again, but that was a good solid 2 minutes worth of free time. And now look at the defense that's mounting. We have Sniper King, as well as Juggernauts, Shivas holding the line. That line is going to be hard to crack now, and that's all. And a lot of that is because of the attack that came through. Unfortunately, it does look like this top right-hand side, the bottom right-hand side, is in quite a lot of trouble here. If that Kagi can either get the Aphis or get that's one of the corners taking a hefty chunk of damage just there. With the demons coming in behind, that also means that the other units that were there that defended against the Kagi are now out of position. Demons just pumping that damage.
The Juggernaut's great, but it can only shoot so many things at once. You're generally better off with more units rather than bigger units.
Yeah. When in a defensive situation like this, you'd be better off with a pack of Titans versus a Juggernaut, but you can't always build a pack of Titans because different factions. But yeah, the other thing is that if you take this Juggernaut offensive, it can be taken out by a single D gun. That's something we see quite often. as becoming a problem. So, top left-hand side, look at all of the demon corpses. That's the power of being able to defend against... Like, this is how you defend against demons. Just snipers are phenomenally good against defending against demons.
And snipers, you can pull back. As the demons get closer, you can pull that defensive line back and keep that damage pumping out. Whereas if it was something like static defenses, once they can advance to the point where they can hit them, the static defense dies and that's it. Whereas with those snipers, you can dance them backwards and forwards. As the push comes in, you retreat that a little bit to keep them firing. Once they're dead, you can move forward to buy yourself some breathing room again.
One of the things that I quite like is this is showing that a one-dimensional solution is not a solution. The demons have done very well so far, but the time of the demon is starting to run out. You have two real options when that happens. One is to get so many demons that you overcome the problem. The other is to try slightly different compositions. Why are you walking away from the demons? Bottom left-hand corner, we've just had two comms that were walking away from the demons. Got to get those D-guns in. Big push coming from the bottom left-hand side. Unfortunately, the sprinters are just not going to hold up against the demons that happen to be walking by at the time. Unfortunate for the peasants, because all they need to do is get in, though defenses have been constructed now. There's a pulsar wall in front of the advanced energy converters.
That is going to be difficult to get through. However, they only shoot every so often. If you can get... I do like things like sprinters to try and overwhelm and get through defenses. You're going to lose so many of them on the way through. You only need a couple to survive to be able to get the damage done.
Does look like the next push is happening on the left-hand side. Citizen 3 tried to get in position for those jugs, but only managed to grab the Kargis, and I do reckon it's going to go down to the shotguns. Yep, there it goes. And now the jugs have a reasonably clear path, but doing the smart thing, pulling back, getting the T1 in front so that a comm can't snipe them. When you invest 29,000 metal in a push, you do want to make sure that it can't be wiped off the map by a passing comm.
Particularly when you can afford to have T1 flowing through at this stage of the game. Or looking at that, your army of demons supporting. That is a lot of demons.
My demons.
But they will do a fantastic job of keeping everything away from those jugs so they can just keep on pumping their damage over the top.
Yep. And also, the thing that the Juggernaut is not great at dealing with is spam. Everything that is here to assist deals with spam. Kargis
And that's
deal
what
with
you
spam,
want to be able to
Hounds
do.
deal with spam, demons deal with spam.
And you can just see that nothing is getting close to them at the moment.
The fact is that even if they're lost now, they've done the job that they needed to do. The ramp is cracked, the demons are up in the high ground.
And this is where demons are absolutely fantastic. Once you've broken that defense, they are brilliant at absolutely demolishing bases that are relatively unprotected.
Yep.
And largely
Does look like the bottom left eco is about to go down, though. There are two comms here. One is not cloaked, but the other one is running. The cloaked one is running away. It is not going to catch back up to those demons before it takes all those APHIS. Does look like that player has decided to give their APHIS. What good that's going to do is questionable.
In that scenario,
there goes the corner.
You're best to throw your comm at them and try and deal as much damage as you possibly can. The comm explosion will do some, but once they're that deep, they are either going to destroy the entirety of your economy, or you can die trying.
Two jugs walking at the middle of the map. One of them nearly dead, the other one quite healthy. Question is, what is there to stop this? Because even with a hand, even with what's there,
that is going to get deep. I like that they're spread far enough that they don't chain react off the explosions.
Unfortunately, there's just too much and it's going to go down. No control D, which means no extra big explosion. does not manage to get the impact. And look, here's the here's the rest of the forces coming to try and back it up, but just too late. You got to try and push those in as you can. Unfortunately, did not happen this time. It does look like we've got a big force piling up on this right-hand side. What it needs is spam, to be honest. The demons are good, but you know what you were fighting into before, which was Juggernaut Sniper. Juggernaut Sniper is going to kill these demons very, very quickly. Even though they're coming in a big line of an assault just here, there's Titans to back them up, there's Juggernauts to back them up. So long as the player's paying attention, the snipers will pull back, and these demons are falling so quickly. There you go, down to just one left.
Where, as a king, you need to start changing up what your composition is. Things like, if you were throwing masses of spam through this line, snipers can only shoot it so much, which means that if you can get your demons on top of those, you'll absolutely crush them, but you just need enough units to be able to eke the shots.
I mean, the composition that beats snipers is spam catapult.
Yeah.
So the spam gives vision, the catapult does catapult things. This is smart though. Watch behind is control D'ing a Juggernaut in range of a bunch of those snipers. That's about half the snipers taken down by some Juggernauts that were basically already dead. That's going to slow down the rate that these units can be taken out. Yeah, bottom left-hand side, the demons that destroyed the base in the bottom left corner have started turning on the area in the middle. They've just triggered massive chain reaction there. Most of them have died for it, but there's now very little there to stop them. The Thor that's there to stop them no longer has power, therefore cannot shoot, which is a problem. Looking at the top left-hand side, the rest of the snipers are gone to another Juggernaut explosion. Really nicely done as a way of using those snipers, using those Juggernauts, because they weren't getting too much done, but that explosion is just a walking tactical nuke, which we love.
Mm-hmm. They make some big booms.
Does look like the bottom left-hand side attack is cleaned up, but it is the top left-hand side that is the main battlefield right now. Those Titans that I mentioned before, just sniping one of the economies, and now it is just down to 3 APHIS defending, building snipers to defend, but I think there's too much here for the snipers. There's just enough to take out the spam that's coming through, and the snipers, while they're doing a really good job of targeting down the low-health Thors, there's 2 Juggernauts behind, which is going to solve most problems at this stage, I would say.
Once you lose that critical mass, it's incredibly hard to rebuild it again whilst under fire.
Oh, good D-guns take out the 2 Juggernauts up there. So the top left-hand side does live at least a little while longer. But Juggernauts coming up from the bottom of the map now as well to that left middle section. Finally losing one of them to the combined fire of Pulsar's other Juggernauts. Just walk it in, mate. Just walk it in. She'll be right. It's a Jug. There you go, base destroyed, and that is another chunk of the peasant economy taken down. It is this top left that's holding on by a shoestring, and the bottom right that has done a fantastic job of holding on, but will soon be facing the full might of everything and everyone. Juggernaut nearly in the king's base. We've just had some demons making a final push. They've just taken out the T3 lab. Does look like we're about to lose the... it does look like we're about to lose some APHIS. Chain reacting, just get it. Oh my god!
Right.
King's losing. Big chunk of the economy in the middle of the map. That Juggernaut, there is not enough here to stop it. If it just walks at those APHIS and blows up next to those APHIS,
that will be the entirety of the king's economy. And that will be a big enough boom that there won't necessarily be anything that can be resurrected either.
Is this going to be the turnaround of the century?
This is going to be huge.
Holy shit.
There's nothing there to stop this, and it's going to require the full response that'll basically stop the corner from dying.
King's
this is
below
fantastic.
1,000 income.
And now that that jug is inside there, it can walk around and hit the rest of the bases while it's there.
Oh my god.
Never say
The
die.
Kings have what they have?
And
that's
they
it.
are not going to be able to reinforce. So it is now game on. The Kings either win or lose with the army they have left.
That's insane.
I thought this was in the cleanup phase for the Kings.
It was in the cleanup stage for the Kings. And watch behind's calm, not invisible.
Oh, that's
But
gonna
also
be
not
bad.
being targeted down, and it's the only real threat. There we go, it is invisible now. That Juggernaut's days are numbered. D-gun down.
I'm just watching that jug making its way in.
Oh no.
As that top left was dying, it was moving in with its supportive demons.
On the right-hand side, termites have found their way into the back of the base.
Oh, that's going to be
I
devastating.
think this is it for the peasants as well. All it's going to take is a tiny bit of damage here from a few of those to get in. The sniper's really good quick responses, actually. Termites
enough
just
units
need to
that
target
should
down
be
that
enough
top
to hold
right
them off.
APHIS. They're not being manually controlled.
Oh,
Focus one. Oh, oh no.
great response with those units to get them there in time to keep things
no.
alive here. Because there could have been significantly more losses out of that.
The peasants yelling to hold the line, because if they hold this, they can still win it. Another
Yeah.
Juggernaut heading towards the middle of the base. This one towards middle of the Kings. This one's going to take a lot of damage on the way in, though. Pop-ups do a surprising amount of damage. Bulwarks do a surprising amount of damage. And it is unsupported. It's going the wrong way.
The peasants
He's
are at
grabbing.
the stage where if they can take efficient trades, they will be able to outproduce the Kings.
And that's the thing, they still have 8 comms left, which means that they can efficiently trade against a lot of the big units that remain. Juggernaut taken down by one of the King's comms. This is turning into a crazy battle. The question is, are the Kings even trying to rebuild their economies? And it doesn't overly look like they are.
At the moment, they're probably incredibly busy with trying to kill the last of the peasants. Because the thing is, if they stop microing their armies, they will be dead to everything that peasants are producing.
Look, the Kings still have what they need to win. They have a 300% army advantage, and it's mostly in the right place. The really big factor right here is these catapults. They've just gotten in range of one of the APHIS clusters. They're having a bit of trouble shooting down, but not enough. And that's Chain Reaction City. That's the peasants' economy mostly wiped as well. It's currently back into the favor of the Kings.
Whoa, that's...
Peasants did fantastic in this one, but it looks like the Kings have managed to...
I do
looks
like
the
how
Kings
the
have
Kings
managed
have
to
just
claw
gone
their way
into
back.
producing T1. It's the sort of thing you don't need T3 to win these games. If you can overwhelm with numbers and just more units to shoot at things, that will more often than not get you into those bases and overwhelm those defenses.
And that's the thing. When you go T3, the enemy has to respond with units that deal with T3. That means those units are usually not the units that deal with T1. So, for example, we have Pulsar City here, which is defending. Pulsar City is, unless the units come in a line, is going to struggle with what's coming. But peasants now being reduced to... I think this is the first time in King of the Hill history where peasants haven't died in one of their co-op corners. They have
it's always been a corner as the last
actually,
holdout.
Never mind, the top right hand side is rebuilt, so that's gonna prevent this from being King of the Hill history. But it does look like one of the last strongholds is that bottom middle of the map. Kings have done super well, but oh my God, did the peasants nearly claw this one back.
And that goes to show just how quickly these games can swing, because the kings end up building in such a condensed fashion in the middle because they only have so much space. If you can get in late, a lot of their stuff will chain react together and there can be a huge swing in the economies of these games.
And all that really happened there was that the peasants pushed a lane that
One
the kings
push.
thought they were safe from.
Yeah. As the kings were in that corner killing the base, the peasants managed to make a push with something in the realm of like 10 units or less. And what was it? I want to say it was about 6 demons and a jug was all they needed to push in and kill the entirety of the middle, because they managed to find a spot that wasn't heavily defended whilst the kings were busy elsewhere.
Look at that juggernaut just walking through all the walls in the bottom middle. Just
You
like,
can't
I
stop
don't
me.
care. I don't care about your walls. And this is why you need to build, instead of building walls, what you need is the decoy fusions. Does it look like the last... It does look like the last bastion has mostly fallen. Kings are going to have to do a bit of a circle. Oh my god, the Kings actually have a force in the top right. I just don't realize.
There's been
That's
great
great.
use of the what are they called? The sneaky peats, the jammer towers. So the
Yep.
kings can't actually see what's going on up there at all. They don't have any vision of it.
I think they do now with those ticks. But yes, this is definitely GG from the peasants. There is no coming back from where they are right now. Not a meme trying to degun his way out of this problem. Isn't going to be able to degun his way out of this problem. Last 3 comms in this top right hand side. Many LLTs trying to defend. But I think it is time to call this one. 2 Titans looking to try and make their way into the middle of the base, but even if they do ludicrous amounts of damage, it's not enough to stop the Kings at this point. And there we go. Self-destructing comms in the top right-hand corner. GG, everyone. That was crazy.
This was a
That was
great game.
crazy.
That was a massive
All
swing,
right.
both directions, to be able to get through to the end of this.
You can see the demon damage in the metal produced. Oh, sorry, in the damage done. A quick look at the metal produced. Usually we see co-op corners rivaling the Kings. In this situation, we only had the 1 eco, 2 ecos from the peasants rivaling the Kings, which is just not enough for it to be competitive, but still nearly clinching the win with some good plays. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. Hope you enjoyed this one. This one was wild, and we will see you in the next one. I've been Pradith. Joining me has been Tank Tom. This has been AllReasonNoLogic, and we hope you've had a good time.
We will catch you all next week.
And for those of you that are live, thanks everyone for joining. Hope everybody's has had a good time. We're just going to dump a lot of those settings, I do believe, and kill the lobby. I think, is that the plan? Unless there's an after party planned.
I'm not sure. I'm just going to go through and remove all of our bits and pieces so that if they are going to continue with something, they can.
Exactly. Does look like Nightmare is here, so we should be having an after party underway. that's it from us, and there may be a raid, there may not. I don't have control over the Twitch, so that's not going to be something that I can do or not do. If you're on the official, just stick around for a minute or so. If there's no raid that happens, then I hope you have a good night, and we will catch you next week for another King of the Hill.
You grab all those bonuses and turn them on. What map should we give them?
All the simmers I've given them. Oh, actually, it's a bigger one. Let's give them a bigger map. All that glitters extended.
Ah, there we go.
Whoop, Nightmare's done a thing.
That is a lot of text.
Alright. Still, with Nightmare taking over the lobby, I think we can leave it at that. Tank Tom, have you ended your stream?
I am now.